Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo have signed a peace deal aimed at ending the devastating conflict in eastern DRC. The United States and Qatar brokered the deal, which President Trump touted as a wonderful treaty. The hope is it will end a 30-year conflict. The Congolese foreign minister and Rwandan foreign minister signed the deal together in D.C. before meeting with the president.
I am an African.
Welcome back to Africa for Dummies. I'm your host, Nathan, and today we're talking about a deal that could end a war or just repackage it. On June 27th, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo signed a historic peace agreement in Washington, D.C., brokered by the U.S. and Qatar. It promises to end decades of conflict in Eastern Congo, but is this peace or plunder? From minerals to militias, geopolitics to governance, this deal raises more questions than answers. We'll break down what's in the deal, who gains, what history tells us, and whether this agreement is really a turning point or just another paper promise. And to dive into this, of course, we are joined by Zenge, who's going to give us a lot of information on the peace deal. How are you doing, Zenge?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very. A lot has happened in Africa this past couple of weeks, so it's very hard to keep track of it. But we're here for giving you an analysis of what's going on, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. To our listeners, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We've been getting quite a lot of support on our previous videos, so we'd just like to thank you for that. And also, if you want to stay informed on anything going on in Africa, please be sure to check out our Instagram page, Twitter, Africa for Dummies on everything. And also, if you prefer listening to this on audio, maybe you're working, maybe you're on your way to work, or maybe you're just in the kitchen or doing something, you can listen to this on any audio podcast platform. So please be sure to follow us on all those pages. Leave us a like on this video as well, because it helps to put these videos out there. I apologize today, my English is horrible. But anyways, in any case, we're here to talk about
English is not his mother tongue.
Thank you very much. So we're here to talk about Rwanda Congo deal that was organized by the United States and Qatar. So we've done quite a number of videos on Rwanda and the Eastern DRC, and I think it would be ideal for our listeners, Zenge, if you would give just a very brief backstory as to what is going on here. Why did the U.S. make this have to step in and make this deal?
Yeah, so in terms of a backstory, of course, this deal was signed on the 27th of June 2025 between the Rwanda and the DRC, two Central African countries. The DRC, as people know, is the size of Western Europe, has a population of around 100 million, if I'm not correct. If I start to be corrected on that, and Rwanda has around 15 or so million people, well, edging into 15 million. So Washington D.C. decided to come in around March, and it has framed this as a win, as a big peace deal attempt in solving the conflict in Congo, which has caused the deaths of about 7 million people since the 1990s. A quick outline of the roots of the DRC conflict. Many of it is stemmed to the aftermath of 1994, though I think there's a bit more before 1994 in which Congo's conflict could be originated into, but let's not go into that. We've actually done that in a podcast before. There was a spillover from the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, Rwandan genocide against the Tutsi, into Eastern Congo, where formation of militias from pro-Hutu militias that used to be in government in the DRC, in Rwanda, moved into Eastern Congo, forming the FDLR. And this FDLR has been an existential threat to Rwanda. At least from Rwanda's perspective, this is an existential threat to Rwanda because it's like the former oppressors want to come back and destabilize Rwanda. And then also the emergence of M23 called March 23. It's based on an agreement which was signed in about 2012, I think, where the certain elements of sort of Tutsi Congolese who have historically been marginalized were supposed to be integrated into the DRC's military, felt that they didn't get the fair end of the deal and they pulled out. And the deal at that time was called March 23. The deal was signed on March 23. So they called themselves M23 for failure to adhere to that deal. And they have also now created a bigger coalition, including key allies like the Alliance Fleuve de Congo, the Alliance of the River of Congo, which ironically is headed by the former Electoral Commission chair of the DRC. Millions have died, millions have been displaced, and some are stuck in repeated cycles of instability. Many are refugees in surrounding countries. Congo has 9 neighbors, Congo Brazzaville, the other Congo, Central African Republic, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, then across Lake Tanganyika is Tanzania, Zambia on the south, Angola on the south west. So many peace deals have been done. But this year, the most prominent deals we can gather up, and I'm not saying they started this year, particularly the Luanda and Nairobi process, they didn't start this year. They've been on for about 3-4 years or so. Luanda, named after the capital of Angola, Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, those processes both collapsed. If you want to know about it, we have a podcast on it, but essentially, Kenya is in the East African community. They tried to send troops to the DRC, called the East African Regional Force. That didn't succeed. They were told to withdraw due to mistrust. Congo thought that the EAC was like a Rwandan proponent. And then the Rwandan angle also they both had political and military angles, but I'm talking about the military one right now. Rwandan angle also had Sami DRC. Sami DRC was a SADC. Angola, where the capital is Rwanda, is part of SADC, Southern African Development Community, and they sent a military force called Sami DRC, primarily with South African soldiers, and that was seen as a aggressor by Rwanda. So essentially, Rwanda doesn't trust the Southern African military solution. DRC doesn't trust the East African military solution. DRC is in both East Africa and Southern Africa, and there was also a larger quadripartite process which included 4 regions: East, South, and the Central African Regional Body led by the AU. And then Qatar came in, and you saw a picture of the two in April in 2025.
Sorry, if I may just jump in. I think you passed by a certain point, just to add to the just to display or to illustrate how much distrust there is from, I guess, both sides. I believe I was watching the New Times Rwanda, and they did a report where I think from the eastern side there is a belief that the Sami DRC, together with Congo, actually are working together with, I believe it's I forget the name of the group, but they are. Pardon me.
You mean the FDLR? Is that what Rwanda is accusing?
Yeah, FDLR, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rwanda is basically accusing that they are working together. So in a way, Rwanda looks at this as though the Sami DRC and Congo are basically working together with a group of people that basically are causing genocide and want to cause instability in their country. So just to illustrate how, how difficult this is. Yeah.
So Rwanda sees the FDLR, and they have accused the FDLR of being embedded in the DRC military, in the same way that the other side has accused Rwanda of being the M23 of being embedded in the Rwandan Defense Forces. There's a UN special report which outlined strong cooperation between Rwanda and the M23, which, the reason that this became a serious issue again, and this wasn't just like one of those old wars that people just accept, it was because in January there was a massive resurgence of M23 activity in eastern Congo, taking key cities like Goma and Bukavu in North Kivu and South Kivu. There's also the Burundi aspect, but that is more detailed and we have gone on over it.
Rwandan-backed rebels M23 claim they have captured Goma, which is the largest city in eastern Congo. Congo's government said the rebel advance was a declaration of war, and the United Nations has described mass panic amongst Goma's 2 million residents.
And so Qatar came in. Qatar has economic investments in both countries, from minerals to aviation. Rwanda Air, Bugesera International Airport in Rwanda being built with the help of Qatar. So they both spoke to the Sheikh bin Al Thani, spoke to Kagame and Tshisekedi, presidents of Rwanda and the DRC, on this deal. And then the United States also spoke to both of them, the ministers. What's her name again? Something Wagner. Yeah, the DRC minister. Strange surname, but yeah, no, she's she's incredibly effective. She used to work at Oxfam actually. She speaks, I think, 3 languages: German, French, and English very well. So I think there's also a communication aspect of this that's very interesting, because Congo has sort of like started improving their Ministry of Foreign Affairs in terms of communication, because it's also a battle of hearts and
just to also highlight her CV a little bit, just to give her some respect. I think she actually did spend time in the eastern part of Congo as well. As opposed, she's not like someone who just didn't have any experience in that area too. So she knows what's going on there.
She was with Oxfam in Eastern Congo, actually. So she knows directly what's going on. Let me just Google her name. But yeah, then there was the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Rwanda. His name is Nduru. I'll mispronounce it. But it's like Nduru or something.
Yeah.
Let me just do him justice. But yeah, so there have been many peace agreements. In this situation. There have been the Lusaka ceasefire agreement in 19. So there was probably, like, if I can count, about 9 at least. Yeah, 9. These are big peace agreements. I'm not even including the ceasefires or anything. Lusaka ceasefire agreement in 1999, which signed the end to the Second Cold War, Congo War, which involved the DRC, Angola, Namibia, Rwanda, Uganda, Zimbabwe, and other rebel groups. Ceasefire, and then the deployment of MONUC, which I think was the forerunner to MONUSCO, which is the UN deployment. The Pretoria Agreement 2002, follow-up to the Lusaka one, which aimed to have troop withdrawal and militia disarmament. The outcome, Rwanda withdrew its troops, but the FDLR remained active. Global and Inclusive Agreement, the same year, concluded the Second Congo War and established a transitional agreement. Formed a transitional government, but Eastern DRC remained extremely volatile. Goma Peace Agreement 2008 addressed the conflict in the North and South Kivu involving CNDP, which I think was one of the forerunners to M23. I stand to be corrected on that one, but I think so. Called for disarmament integration, it collapsed due to CNDP fighting. March 23 agreement, there we have it. This 2009. So aimed to end the CNDP rebellion and integrate its fighters. Promised amnesty, integration to Congolese army, and the political inclusion. CNDP fighters later formed M23 in 2012, citing unfulfilled promises. So there was the Peace, Security and Cooperation Framework in 2013. Regional response M20 to M23 seizure of Goma. So that was the first time they took Goma proper. So it was signed by 11 African countries in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, with UN and AU backing. M23 was defeated, and instability persisted. So then Nairobi declarations in 2013, Luanda process agreements 2022, 2023, which we have explained. So both Nairobi and Luanda, those are the 2 different ones. And then there's the Qatar mediated ceasefire in 2005. It halted M23's advance after they seized Goma and Bukavu, and brokered in March and April between 2025 between the DRC, Rwanda, and M23. So short ceasefire, very fragile truce, but violence sort of persisted, with numerous reports of deaths and killing, including one. But this wasn't M23. This was attributed to the Alliance for Defense Forces, uh, ADF, which is an ISIS Islamic State affiliate, where they killed about, I don't know how many Christians, but a lot of people at the church. It was very bloody images. But many of them, you see, the problem with news these days is there's too much information. Before, there used to be a crisis of lack of information. Now there's a crisis of way too much information, including half-truths and fake news. So people threw in that image and started saying Rwanda was doing this, Congo is doing this, and the images are horrifying. I have seen them, and they are, they are killing human beings like bugs. The way you'd slap a fly, it's horrendous. But moving on, what's in the actual deal, right? So the deal is separated into
what. Sorry to cut you off. Sorry. I was going to actually ask that as a transition. Yeah, basically, what is in the actual deal? I think I read somewhere about ceasefire and respecting borders. So what's in the actual deal?
In the actual deal, there's a ceasefire agreement and respect for territorial integrity. Mind you, the DRC believes that Rwandan troops are in Eastern DRC, and the M23 is backed by Rwanda, right? There's also disarmament agreements, disengagement, and conditional reintegration of non-state armed groups. Conditional, by the way, keep that in mind, of non-state armed groups, especially M23 and FDLR. Return of refugees, also displaced persons. As I said, there were millions of people that have been displaced. Restoration of state authority and humanitarian access. So it's interesting, in Eastern DRC, it's very difficult because I asked someone who went there to Goma, and I said, where do you, if you need a visa to go to Congo, where do you apply for your visa? Like when they stamp your thing, does it say M23 territory or does it say the DRC? But the thing is, the M23 are setting up administration as the DRC, right? So they are de facto acting as though they are the administration of the DRC. And by and large, you have to deal with M23 to go there now because they are the de facto power. And yeah, so there's that aspect.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
What if you would want to travel there? Then who do you? Who do you have to check in with? Yeah.
There's that aspect, and then there's also U.S. backing. The U.S. backing is a very new thing, right? The idea is that sign to peace and get economic investment. It's like a little carrot. Like, if you guys stop fighting, I'll both give you guys jelly tots.
Right.
I'm not.
Oh wow, that is a candy.
I'm not trying to minimize or create like my brothers and sisters from the DRC or Rwanda.
And I think,
but essentially, I'm being very simplistic. The Article 6, subsection 1, bilateral integration, is key of this agreement, which the United States has called the Washington.
What does that bilateral integration state?
So it states basically that there will be shared development of hydropower, national parks. The Eastern DRC is absolutely stunning. It's always green, and it has one of the biggest gorilla populations that are heavily endangered. So this is a key aspect. We will invest and develop in this. Transparent mineral supply chains of coltan, cobalt, tantalum from mine to market. This hasn't been done. This aspect is particularly not new. There was an agreement during the honeymoon phase of Tshisekedi, and when Tshisekedi just came on, they signed an agreement that Rwanda can actually start processing Congolese minerals and sell them, given there's value added on the supply chains. But some people who are strongly anti-Rwanda say, this deal is basically just allowing Rwanda to formalize its extraction of Congolese minerals, right? But from the Rwandan side of it is, logistically, this could actually make sense because the economy of Eastern Congo is strongly aligned to Eastern Africa, right? Those guys barely know Kinshasa. If you look at the map of Congo, Kinshasa is like on the other end, right? Yeah, the economy, the politics, the culture is very different.
And even I would assume moving minerals from that side all the way to the other side is not economically
logistical. So there's that aspect. It's like, okay, it's faster, it's clearer, but should we really trust Rwanda at the same time? Yeah, so that's the issue there.
And
And there's enormous amount of minerals.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
there's one more
just to
aspect.
dive
So,
into, because I think, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, the US one, US government and investors partner end-to-end mineral value chain. And then there's the part I find the most interesting, where it says, what does it say? If I was just going to quote it directly. Joint management of resources in the Kivu, transparent, formalized end-to-end mineral value chains from mine to processed metal that links both countries in partnership as appropriate with the government and US investors as appropriate with the US government and US investors. So it's very clear. It puts US economic investors and interests directly into the peace agreement. That's what makes it very different. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. And yeah, that which leads us to our next question, which is who gains
You
what?
had like a
Because it
thought, didn't
seems,
you?
pardon me?
Didn't you have like a thought that you wanted to come in before I
No,
mentioned
no, no. It was just a question that I was going to ask, because you've talked a lot about what the deal is talking about, but now it's like, okay, so who is winning, who is losing, who gains what? Because I read a few articles where some people are saying that this is a very bad deal for Congo in the end. And do you agree with that? And yeah,
This is the end of Congo.
no, this was a bad deal for Congo. Some people
Bad
have
news for
stated that this
Congo.
was a very bad deal for Congo. So who are the winners? Who are the losers? Who gains what? Who's losing? Because I'm sure, like, in order for a deal to happen, someone's giving up something. And I think from a particular
Yeah.
article I read, it seems like the DRC is the one giving up quite a lot in this sense. But would you
Yeah,
agree
well,
with
look,
that?
on the DRC side, it gets security guarantees and a possible Rwandan military defeat. There is also political leverage ahead of Washington summit in 20 and also their 2026 elections. Um, and by that I mean, Rwanda, the DRC is the main stakeholder in this conflict, and they have the capacity to make or break it, which Washington is posturing as a huge success. And if they decide not to cooperate, they could really damage Donald Trump's image, because the narrative is Trump has brought peace to Africa. That's it's almost like the end of history type of discussion. And then Rwanda, there is no formal admission of its presence in that area up to now. Yeah, there is no formal admission that Rwandan troops are there. Kagame was answering to Larry Madowo, and he asked, "Do you have Rwandan troops in the DRC?" He said, "I don't know." That's the most you're going to get in terms of an answer.
It's
Strategic
interesting.
influence.
So they're there. Rwanda's there on the table when it comes to making a deal, but it has no influence.
Yeah, so some people
in the
are
country.
saying, should
Yeah.
we take Rwanda should we take them being part of this deal as an admission that they are there?
Okay.
Because technically you are not there, but at the same time you are a major stakeholder in
You're
this
at the
agreement.
dealing table.
Also,
yeah.
yeah. And then also M23 is not there also. So then at the same time, should you now say, is Rwanda represented in M23? Who in what? So Rwanda is there simply to say FDLR should go. We are not attached to M23. We are not in the DRC. So,
Okay.
but the US has instructed Rwanda to withdraw its troops before. So I don't think the US believes that Rwanda troops are not there. US, their point of gain is access to critical minerals, reducing dependency, and wanting to counter China. Mind you, more than 70% of mines in the DRC is majority owned by China. Congo does have a state-owned enterprise called Geka Mines, which is the state arm and controls a lot of minority stakes in minerals, copper, cobalt. But so its new regional foothold will be economic, but it will be on the guise of peace. And then there's also the condition of the two sides both feeling like certain agreements of the peace deal should be held. Rwanda said that they will withdraw, they will stand back or Did they say withdraw? I don't know if they said withdraw. Conditionally, yeah. Condition on the condition that FDLR is neutralized, meaning they are incapacitated, disarmed, and the DRC also looks at Rwanda, and the DRC doesn't fully acknowledge that they are also enabling the FDLR, which Rwanda sees as an existential threat. So that causes a lot of mistrust. Rwanda will not stop its what do they call it? Defensive posture. So meaning they will and they have the capacity to go inside the DRC in the event that they do not see that the FDLR is neutralized. That's the condition. Rwanda's condition of retreat depends on the vague FDLR neutralization, whatever neutralization means. But neutralization technically means they should be either disarmed or not in a capacity to fight. You don't know whether it means killing them, disarming them, integrating them to the army. I don't know. So that's I'm going into skepticism. But if we talk about gains, obviously the US is economic, rival to China. It's a big triumph for Trump, which he can parade on elections. Sorry, what I said about the DRC and 2026 elections. The 2026 elections are in the DRC, not in the United States. Yeah, it's the DRC, not the United States. So that leverage is primarily for the DRC president to put forward as an election win.
And just briefly, because I think you pay attention to what the experts are saying. So just briefly, like, what are the experts on these topics, on the Rwanda Congo conflict? Talking about, what are they saying? Are they skeptical, or are they do they think that this is actually a good thing?
So the experts believe this is another attempt at rivaling China. Stability issues. There's a lot of mistrust that's still there. As I mentioned, Rwanda is very conditional about that, and Kagame has said that. I don't want to quote him, but he has voiced a degree of mistrust and preparedness to intervene in the DRC if they feel like their end of the bargain, their end of the deal is not being met. There is a lot of skepticism and unanswered questions. As I said, M23, first of all, is not in the deal. Yeah, it's not a party to the deal. It's not a signatory to the deal. So it does not necessarily. There's a big question as to whether or not they will even adhere to what they have said. It's two countries, it's not M23. Disengagement also doesn't allow equal withdrawal. That's also very, that aspect of the deal doesn't make too much sense, because disengagement just means you are not mobile. You are not making moves on the field. It doesn't necessarily mean you don't exist anymore. It doesn't necessarily mean you are eliminated as a group. As I said, Rwanda's conditional retreat depends on vague FDLR neutralization. So neutralization could mean obliteration, disarmament. I think it's probably disarmament, but it could mean something else. There is a monitoring mechanism where they have to consult Americans, but some experts don't believe it's thorough enough. And enforcement hasn't been very well clarified in the event that parties don't adhere. The earlier Luanda deal collapsed after Goma and Bukavu fell to M23. Doha's role is also rather vague. There is not much being explained, and also the Kabila factor is also interesting. I don't know what effect Joseph Kabila will have as he has returned to the DRC. He might be eyeing presidency, but he's facing a lot of legal hurdles to go there, because I don't think the status quo in the DRC wants him to come back. Joseph Kabila was president of the DRC from the 2000s up to the late 2010s, and he has seen a lot of these deals happen. So yeah, and he has a full network, of course, of leaders in the region, in Southern Africa, East Africa. So there's those
And
aspects. M23 is not at the table.
yeah.
Vague understanding of FDLR neutralization and Rwanda's conditionality on that.
So, what should we watch out for next? Who should we pay attention to? And yeah, what are the things that we should be looking out for when with regards to this conflict?
I think firstly we should watch the statements from the different presidents, because it's very clear. It's a very clear sort of barometer of the trust levels between the two. And trust is a huge factor. It shouldn't be underestimated, because just one sign of mistrust can result in the end of a peace deal. That's what happened with the Luanda elements of the Luanda process. You know, in December, the president of Rwanda, who was in charge of dealing with this issue, of Angola, who was in charge of dealing with this issue, called one party, and the other party refused to come because they felt that the other party wasn't getting their own end of, wasn't fulfilling their deal. So trust is a huge aspect. And then Kinshasa, people are questioning as to whether or not Kinshasa should go the extra mile and sign a deal with M23, because M23 was part of this deal, and it use it as a perfect excuse to continue fighting or continue expanding. And M23 is expanding in DRC territory, so it would fall on the DRC to take care of that. But at the same time, those who are on Congo's side will say, oh, this is a Rwandan-backed thing. But Rwanda will say, hey, this is an internal thing, internal matter of the DRC people and their own political issues. So that's that. And then there's also the movement of refugees and IDPs. What will happen? What type of packages and deals are they going to get in practice? The new contracts in the mining sector in the DRC, is there even space for American mining or will they be edging out China? I don't know how that will look like. And then there's also this local and international civil society, how this will affect, and also church groups. The Catholic Church in the DRC is very powerful, and they have played huge roles in their big political transitions. And so that would be a key aspect, how they come in. Many of these aspects are very state-centric and armed pack. For them to forget about M23, or maybe not forget about them, but not to include them in signing, what more CSOs and NGOs, especially the local ones in the ground, and that maybe don't have that much financial backing. And the fact is, many of these local CSOs have a closer relationship with the people. How does this factor in, and especially with IDPs and just simple management of daily life? Life has to go on in the DRC. People have to cook, they have to go to school, they have to shower, they have to be hygienic, they have to go to the hospital, just the basic things. It's not just a video game of wars and countries and head of states. There is a Joseph Kabila factor, obviously, former president of the DRC, who I mentioned earlier, whether or not you form a front to oppose Tshisekedi, because they have sort of been at loggerheads, or whether you have a rebel dynamic. He also has a lot of links across East Africa and Southern Africa. He was staying in South Africa for a while, where I think he got his PhD. So that's what he has been doing quietly. But then now he returned to the DRC a few months ago. So there's that. So issues of trust. Watch the statements. Watch what each presidents are saying. And then also the M23 factor not having been signed. What will happen there? Will there be another agreement? And then CSOs, NGOs, how do they keep life moving for ordinary Congolese and ordinary people that have been affected by this situation? And how exactly will American investment factor into a very Chinese-dominated industry in the DRC? Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a great place to end it. So, do you have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to add to us then?
I think just going back to what you said in the beginning, is this going to be a piece of paper? Is it genuinely going to be peace in practice? And, of course, there is a wide perception that M23 is controlled by Rwanda, but many groups that have been supposedly been controlled by some type of godfather or something have been known to cut their strings. Will M23 just be a Frankenstein on its own? That's an interesting thing. because they haven't signed this deal. And what will happen? Will there be another peace deal in the next few years? Congo has had multiple peace deals, as I have mentioned. What, whether or not that economic factor being different to the previous ones makes it different, will, only time will tell. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to wrap it up. Thank you to our listeners for joining us on this podcast. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment if you have any disagreements or agreements with what was stated in this podcast. And thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
I am an African.